Hey there everybody, it's me, Aaron, Professor Thorgy, and welcome to part 2 of our post-Geekout reaction to Luke Cage. Now, on the first episode, we did episodes 1 through 4. Today we're doing episodes 5 through 8. And in case you have not seen the post-Geekout reactions before, these aren't reviews. These are just my open and honest thoughts about the thing that I just watched, and that means full spoilers are on. So if you have not watched episodes 5 through 8 yet of Luke Cage, tune out now. Come back when you have. If you've watched episodes 1 through 4, then go ahead, click right there. That takes you to part 1. Or maybe it's going to be on this side. I don't know which side the cards pop up on. I still don't know how those work yet. I'm bad at YouTube. But, okay. Let me just go ahead and start off by saying that there are two things that I wanted to mention in the last episode that I totally forgot to mention. The first one is the music. Music is a big part of the history and the culture of Harlem, so I love that they are bringing so much of that into Luke Cage, because Luke Cage is supposed to be a representation of Harlem, so I love that they're making that a major part of this show. Also, I love the swear jar. I totally forgot to mention that when I brought up Pops, but the swear jar is amazing. That is a great little thing to throw in there, and in these episodes 5 through 8, I remember that I was supposed to bring that up when he was digging through the trash, digging through the rubble of that building, and he found the swear jar in there. I was like, that is such a great thing to bring back. I also love that in the current comics, Luke Cage, when he was created, he had a bit of a potty mouth. He had a bit of an anger issue. So, you know, he didn't exactly hold back from swearing. But in the current comics, he doesn't swear. Like, whenever he wants to swear, he uses, like, one of those fake swear words. And the reason why he's doing that is when he started doing that, his partner Iron Fist said, "Why are you talking like that now?" And then they had a quick flashback to him and Jessica Jones, who in the comics are married, and they have a kid, and they're sitting there on the couch, and their kid is just cursing up a storm, and Jessica goes, "Luke, I love you, but you have to stop swearing." So I was kind of hoping that they would bring some of those fake curse words into the Luke Cage show, but I love that that is now a theme of both the Luke Cage TV show and the Power Man Iron Fist comic that's going on right now. And also, it is just so great to see that Luke is a hero in this show who, yeah, he is kind of old-fashioned. He is kind of humble. He is not a guy who goes in there with a big, bad attitude. He is a little bit more quiet. He is a little bit more calm, a little bit more rational, a little bit more mature, and he wants people to act the same way. He wants people to be more respectful to one another. So I love that the swear jar is a continuous thing, and I hope that comes up in the Defenders show. I hope that comes up in Luke Cage Season 2, which we probably will end up getting. But okay, that's all the stuff that I want to talk about in the first couple of episodes. Let's move in to episodes 5 through 8. Now, these are the episodes that a lot of people started contacting me on Twitter and Tumblr saying, "Hey man, I saw your post-Geekout reaction to episodes 1 through 4. I love those episodes, but starting around episode 5, that's when it started to fall off for me. That's when it started to get a little bit cliche. I started to get a little bit tired of these characters, started to get a little bit repetitive." I don't know why, but I'm not seeing that. So far, episodes 5 through 8, I'm not getting exhausted with this. I'm not getting tired of it. I'm still absolutely loving these characters. One of the few complaints that I heard people say with this show is that episodes 5 through 8, it was a lot more telling than doing, and that in a visual medium you should see people doing things rather than talking about them, and these episodes were far more talking about it, and I can fully understand that. However, I love the dialogue in this show. I really do. I absolutely love seeing these characters just sit down and talk with each other. I've said that one of the biggest problems with so many superhero things is that it's too much action, not enough actual conversation between characters. That's one of the reasons I love Civil War, is because it was a great balance between both those things. But in here, everyone is so intense. Anytime that two characters get together and it's just a dramatic dialogue between the two of them, man, I am always on the edge of my seat. Like, anytime that Misty talks to anybody, anytime that she speaks to her commanding officer, that is really dramatic to me. When she had that exchange with Claire, back and forth, damn, I was blown away by that. That was two powerhouse actresses just going at each other. man, that was such a dramatic moment for me. So yeah, I honestly don't have a problem with all the dialogue in this show and there being so much talking between characters. I will admit that sometimes it can be a little bit repetitive. I'll give you that. A lot of the things that Luke is saying, it's like, all right, I've seen this in a previous episode, but I'm still loving this show. Speaking of Claire, I was so happy to see Claire finally show up, partly because I love that she's basically the Agent Coulson of their Netflix shows. She's the one that pops up to tie them all together, but also because in the comics, originally Luke and Claire were a couple. They were the ones in the old Power Man comics who hooked up. Like, he and Misty never hooked up. Misty always hooked up with Danny Rand, aka Iron Fist, which has me really wondering, when Iron Fist and Luke get together and Iron Fist ends up hooking up with Misty, will it be a thing between the two of them when he finds out that his best friend Luke actually slept with Misty before they knew each other? So that'll be an interesting thing to end up coming up. But going back to Claire, I love that she's not just the one tying all this together, but there came a moment in which she was talking to her mother, and her mother said that, listen, this is the world that you live in now. It was fate that you ended up meeting these people, and that's when it kind of hit me. Every single season of these shows is the origin story of someone, of Daredevil, of Jessica Jones, of The Punisher, of Luke Cage. But then it hit me, every single one of these seasons all tied together is the origin story of Night Nurse. All of this is going to end up becoming her origin story. In fact, there came that moment in which the cop, Scarf, I think his name is, I can't remember what his name is. He wasn't the most memorable character in this series. But there came that moment in which he comes to Luke and he's bleeding out and she has to operate on him there in the barber chair. That it kind of hit me, oh my god, is this going to be the Night Nurse's headquarters? Is this going to be the spot that she sets up so that she can operate on all the heroes of New York after they get damaged? Because, yeah, Luke isn't a barber. Bobby Fish ain't a barber. What's going to happen to the barber shop? Something is going to happen to this place. It's going to have to become something else. And I think it might become the Heroes for Hire headquarters. Like, after he and Iron Fist end up meeting up and they think, you know what, we can do something good. We just need a headquarters, like a base of operations. I think it could become that. But also, if you want to throw Night Nurse in there and have it be where she does all of her operating on all the superheroes of the city, I think that would also be an amazing thing to do with the barbershop. But aside from just the heroes, I am absolutely loving the villains. I said this in the last episode, but I'm not one of those guys who comes in and says that the Marvel villains are all terrible. They do have problems with their villains, though. They do need to work on making the villains in their movies better. However, in the Netflix shows, they are always amazing, and I love that this show has an abundance of villains. There are so many different villains popping up in this show, and every single one of them is great. Like, I'm even starting to get attached to Shades. Like, I thought Shades was just kind of like, hey, he's just a throwaway character. He's just going to be like some underling of Diamondback. But as you start to see, like, the game that he's playing and how he's operating in this whole situation and how he's playing these characters against each other, I was like, oh, man, he is far more complex than I thought. He's got his own thing going on, and I can't wait to see what happens with that. But Cottonmouth, when it gets to that point where he discovers Luke Cage's secret, that he is actually an escaped convict, and he's like, yeah, I can now use this against you, so you now have to work for me. I was like, okay, what are they going to do with this? I don't know how they're going to get out of this. And then, I gotta admit, I kind of hate that we didn't get to see how Luke would get around that with Cottonmouth. However, the thing that happened next was so unexpected, I don't care. I was just blown absolutely away by that twist of Maria just losing all control of herself, shoving Cottonmouth out the window, and then just beating him to death. No one saw that coming. We thought Cottonmouth was going to be the big villain throughout this entire thing. Man, seeing that twist, I was just speechless at it. And it was in that moment that I realized, man, this whole time I've been watching Cottonmouth. This whole time I've been looking over at him and thinking that Maria is like the sub-villain. She's kind of like his sidekick in a way. But then you look at it and you realize, wow, she has actually been developing way more than he has. This hasn't been Cottonmouth's villain story. It's been her story this whole time, and her rising up and killing him is that moment in which she now gets on top, in which she becomes the big threat. Although I will say, Cottonmouth's origin story, everybody applauded the origin story of of the Kingpin in the first season of Daredevil. To me, this one tops it. To me, going back and seeing Cottonmouth's origin story, that moment in which his mother made him actually kill his father, or the moment in which she made him go and kill his best friend, that was, I'm sorry, there's a siren approaching. We record the post Geekout reactions here on the thinking couch, which is right next to the window that has no insulation to block out noise. Okay, it's gone. Anyway, that moment was one of those moments that made me go, all right, I'm not saying you're a good guy. I'm not saying that I approve of what you're doing or I approve of what you become, but I understand you now. That's been the thing with each of the villains in the Netflix show. With the Kingpin, with the Purple Man, with each of them, you look at them when you find out their origin story and you say, I understand why you are this way. You don't approve of it, you don't give them a pass, but you understand they're not evil for the sake of evil. You look at what they went through and you go, anybody who was in that situation would have become what you are. And then we get to that episode in which Luke Cage gets shot and he's being driven to the hospital, and then the car flips over, and it made me realize this show has now gone to a different level. Like, this show, I'm not saying like a different level in terms of quality, because I thought it had great quality beforehand, but that to me was the turning point in which it went from, okay, it's now a cat and mouse game between this hero and this gangster. Now it is getting into full-blown superhero territory, because now you have got secret weapons coming out. You have got some supervillain popping up here to try and take Luke Cage down. And I was still really enjoying it. In fact, seeing the fight between Luke Cage and Diamondback there in that giant theater, that was really intense. Also, the shootout with Misty. I gotta say this. I brought this up in the first episode in which I said, like, every time that I see Misty's arm, I'm like, okay, when's it gonna happen? Okay, when are you gonna lose that arm? Because in the comics, she has a robot arm. There's that moment in which she was having the shootout with the guy who has exploding bullets, and she hides behind the door frame, but you see her one arm popping out behind the frame, and I'm like, this is it. This is the moment. This is the moment. She's gonna get shot there. She's gonna blow up. She's gonna lose the arm. Then she's gonna get the robot arm. It really is like Hot Tub Time Machine. It really is like waiting for that moment when they lose the arm. But of course, that didn't end up happening. Although I will say, the one problem that has popped up for me so far, the one problem that has popped up, that it's not like a minor complaint, this one actually does feel like a real problem, is when Diamondback does pop up. Like I said, the whole shootout was intense. It did add a new element to the show. But when it gets to that point in which he says, every single thing that's ever happened to you, it was all because of me. I have been planning all of this. I looked at it and went, I don't know who you are. You just popped up. Like, if we had gotten like some flashbacks of the two of you before and building up, and then suddenly you pop up and Luke is like, it's you. And then you gets revealed that he was the one behind it all. That would have had an impact. But I haven't seen this dude at all. Like, we had heard about Diamondback, but we didn't know about the guy who was Diamondback. We didn't know about his character. We didn't know that he had some kind of connection to Luke Cage. Just suddenly this dude pops up and like, oh, okay, that's Diamondback. Wait, you know Diamondback and he's been responsible for all this and he's been trying to take you down? Why? I have no context to any of this. Yeah, it didn't have an impact on me. I just looked at it like, really? That's the thing? Maybe that's what everybody meant when they said that was full of cliches. Because, yeah, that's kind of a cliche. Although I will say not all cliches are bad. Just they're bad when you just throw them out there. And I felt like that's what they did with this. I felt like you need to set that up way better. I don't know what's going to happen in the upcoming episodes. So maybe they'll be able to make it redeemable. Maybe they'll be able to fix that. But yeah, I thought that was just kind of a lazy way to throw that in there. But yeah, I can't wait to see what ends up happening with Maria. I can't wait to see what ends up happening with Shades, how they now play in with Diamondback, how that whole operation goes down. And I haven't really talked much about Luke in this episode, because, damn, the villains and the supporting characters are so freaking good. But I still am very impressed with Luke. I still really like him as a character. I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, I really like that he is more old-fashioned. He is like, everybody treats everyone with respect, everybody treats everybody with dignity. That is a very positive message to have in a superhero. And I also like that he isn't, like, violent. Like, this guy, he is untouchable. He is bulletproof, and he has super strength. But in that episode, when Cottonmouth's thugs go around shaking down everyone and stealing all their stuff, I loved seeing Luke go back and get everything back from these people, and he didn't like throw them around and beat the crap out of them. He just like went up to them like just, I love that he takes these guys down with the tiniest little slap, like just a little on the head, and it sends them flying. Because yeah, he's not a guy who's like, I don't want to send someone to the hospital, I just want to get people to stop doing crimes. So yeah, that says a lot about him, just in the way that he fights. But also, I think that a really great defining moment for him was at Pops' funeral. When they go to the funeral, and Cottonmouth gets up there, and it's very clear he is using this opportunity to try and turn people against Luke Cage, which, by the way, it became very clear to me while I was watching these episodes, this is Superman. This is 100% a Superman story. I'm going to make an editorials talking all about that, about all the comparisons between this Luke Cage series and with Superman. But when Cottonmouth gets up there and he uses that opportunity to try and turn people against anyone with powers and anyone far and anyone who's an outsider, like, that's a Lex Luthor line. That is totally a Lex Luthor move. But I love that Luke Cage just got up there and just schooled him. He got up there and made an even better speech and got everybody back on his side. Like, it is so great to see a hero who, yeah, this guy is super strong. He could go out there and solve everything with his hands, but he wants to solve it with his words, with his mind. So yeah, still absolutely loving this series. I cannot wait to see the final couple of episodes. Let me know in the comments down below how you have felt about this series so far. And as I said in the last episode, full spoilers are on in the comments section up to episode 8. If you want to spoil anything that comes after episode 8, just wait till part 3, guys. There's only one more part to this. Just hold out till then. Then you can spoil everything that you want in those comments. But you can also contact me on Twitter and Tumblr at Professor Thorgy and let me know how you felt there. But for now, I'm just going to say thanks for watching, everybody, and keep enjoying Luke Cage. Bye.